Hi, my name is Mr. Sheldon, and today we're going to be going over inequalities with variables on both sides. All right, so just like in my last video when we worked with inequalities, we're going to be doing the same thing, but now we're going to have variables on both sides of the inequality. And so first off, we need to go over our steps to solve. Well, it's the same thing that we've been going over. It's our don't call me after midnight, right? And so we need to first off distribute. That's our first step. And or combine our like terms if necessary. So always do those two first. Then we need to collect our variables on one side of the equal sign. Well, we're going to try and get all of our variables then to the left side of the equal sign or the inequality sign. All right. Then we're going to collect all of our constants on the other side. So if we move all of our variables to the left, we need to move all of our constants to the right. And then we're going to solve the inequality. And then describe when it is necessary to flip the inequality sign. We only flip the inequality sign whenever we multiply or divide both sides by a negative, okay? So that's whenever we're gonna flip that sign. All right, so first off, I'm gonna go over this first section right here, and then I'm gonna also hit one of the examples down here. So first off, we have 21x minus 9 is greater than or equal to 18x plus 12, all right? So what's the first step we need to do? We need to remember our don't call me after midnight. Remember these steps, because these steps are what's gonna help you guys, okay? So first off, we need to distribute. Do I see any parentheses here? No, right? So I don't need to distribute. Can I combine any like terms on both sides? Well, this has an x behind it, and this one doesn't, so I can't. And this one has an x behind it, and this one doesn't, so I can't. So I can't combine anything. Next, I need to move the variables, all right? So I'm going to move the variables. I'm going to take this 18x, and I need to move it over here. So how do I move an 18x? Well, I'm going to subtract 18x from the left or the right side. And because I did something to the right side of it, I'm going to also do it to the left side. So these cancel out. So I'm just going to bring this sign down and leaving with only a 12 on this side. All right. I didn't touch the negative 9, so that just comes straight down. And then what's 21 minus 18? Well, that's going to be 3x. All right. So then our next step is to add or subtract our constants to get them to the other side. So if I need to get this variable to be the only thing on the left side, I need to move this negative 9. So what's the opposite of a negative 9? I'm going to add 9, right? Because the opposite of a negative is a positive, so I'm going to add 9 over here as well. So then I get 3x is greater than or equal to, and then what is 12 plus 9? That's going to leave me with 21. And then the last step here is to multiply or divide our variables. So if I need to get rid of this positive 3, I'm going to divide it by a positive 3. Same thing over here. That way those 3's cancel out. And that'll leave me with x is greater than or equal to, and then what's 21 divided by 3? That's 7. All right. And if you notice, I didn't have to flip the inequality sign because I divided by a positive over here. If I were to have divided this by a negative, which we'll see, then we'll have to flip that sign, okay? All right. So now we're going to move on to our example. All right. So first off, we have don't call me after midnight, right? So what's our first step over here? So our first step is to distribute, right? Or distribute, we need to look for parentheses. I see parentheses right here, so I'm going to distribute whatever's in front of it. So I see that this positive 2 is in front of this. So I'm going to take this positive 2 and distribute it into both of those. And so if I have 2 times negative 3x, well, what's 2 times negative 3? I know that 2 times 3 is 6, right? So I'm going to just make that 6x. But what happens when I multiply a positive times a negative? That number is going to be a negative. So I have negative 6x. So then I need 2 times 1. Well, 2 times 1 is just 2. All right. Is less than, and then I didn't do anything over here, so I'm just going to drop these numbers down and keep them the same. So then we need to combine our like terms? Well, over here I have a number with an x behind it and a number without an x behind it. So I can't put those together. Then I have a number with an x behind it and a number without an x behind it. So I can't put those together. So I don't need to combine anything. So then we need to move our variables, all right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this negative 5x and I need to move it over here to this left side. So what's the opposite of a negative? That's a positive. So in order to move something, I can add 5x to that side to get those to cancel out. And then if I did that on that side, I need to get it on this side too. So I'm going to add 5x over here. So that will leave me with, well, those cancel out because 5x minus 5x is 0. So I'm going to drop that 14, keep the sign the same, move that 2 down as well. And then what is negative 6x plus 5? So if I'm getting bigger, if I take negative 6x and I'm moving to the right on a number line, that is going to leave me with a negative 1. So I'm just going to have negative x down here, right? Because it's implied that 1 is right there, plus this 2. All right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to add or subtract our constants, so the things without the variables behind it, to the other side to get our variable by itself. And so if I have a positive 2 here and I need to move it, I'm going to subtract 2 from this side, and subtract 2 on this side as well, because anytime you do something to one side, you have to do it to the other. All right, so that leaves me with negative x is less than, because those cancel out. Then what is 14 minus 2? That is going to be 12, right? All right, and then our last step is to multiply or divide our variable to get this variable by itself. Well, if I know that this is a negative 1 in front of that, how do I get rid of this negative 1 so that I just have an x if I'm multiplying or dividing? Well, I'm going to multiply or divide it by a negative 1. That way these negative 1s can cancel out. All right, so I divide that side by a negative 1. And so if you see here, we divided something by a negative, right? And what did we say we do whenever we divide or multiply something by a negative? We have to flip the inequality sign. So anytime you do something or you multiply or divide by a negative, you need to go back and flip that negative or inequality sign. And so because those cancel out, that's just going to leave me with an x. I'm going to write it over here. So I'm running out of room. I'm going to flip this sign. So if it's a less than, I'm going to make it a greater than sign. All right. And then 12 divided by negative 1. Well, in case you don't know, I'm just going to put it on the calculator. If you have 12 divided by a negative 1, that's just going to leave me with a negative 12. All right. So we have x is greater than negative 12. And so now I'm going to check this real quick. And so if I were to check this, I'm going to plug in something that is greater than negative 12. And so what I think we are going to plug in here is I'm just going to plug in the number 1. All right. So if I'm going to make x equal to 1, because I know that 1 is greater than a negative 12, right? So then I'm going to plug in this 1 anytime I see an x up here. So I'm just going to rewrite this. I get 2 times negative 3 times 1 plus 1 is less than negative 5 times 1 plus 14. All right. And so then we just have to multiply these out. Well, first off, I'm going to multiply in here first. So I get negative 3 times 1. Well, that's just a negative 3. And then plus 1. All right. Is less than, what's negative 5 times 1? Well, that's just negative 5 plus 14. And then I'm going to take this negative 3 plus 1. Well, that's just a negative 2, okay? I can think of that as the same thing. So what's 2 times a negative 2? That's a negative 4 is less than, and then what is negative 5 plus 14? Or another way of thinking about it is if you take 14 minus 5. That gives us a 9. All right, and so we get negative 4 is less than 9. Well, is that true? Is negative 4 less than 9? Yes, it is. And so because we checked this off, we know that our x is greater than negative 12. All right? So because this is a true statement, we know that that is true for whatever we picked. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put it in the graph or on the number line. And at first I need our value. So our value is this negative 12, whatever we found our x to be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. And so this is negative 12. And then is this circle going to be open or closed? It'll be open, right? Because we chose it to be open because this doesn't have the equal to sign underneath it. If it were to have the equal sign or equal to sign underneath it, it's that extra thing we have to put down here. We also have to shade this in. It's an extra step down here. So it's just an open circle. And then because it is greater than 12, well, if I'm greater than it, am I moving to the right or the left? So I'll be moving to the right because I'm greater than it. I could think greater has an R in it, so I'm going to move to the right, whereas if it's less than, I'm going to move to the left. So we know it's greater than, I'm going to move to the right, and that is how you would solve this inequality. And so we'll go over more questions in class, that way you guys can get more practice, but that is how you solve inequalities with variables on both sides.